This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
She has definitely opened my eyes up to a different type of therapy. And fortunately, many of us are open to therapy nowadays, as opposed to decades ago where it was kind of like taboo. We didn't talk about it. And this is art therapy, just a way to express yourself, get things out. It's not like you have to journal what's going on in your mind. It's just let it out, purge it out through art or creativity. And today we're going to do so. I'm not even sure what we're doing today. I'm going to be honest with you. Something about markings or something. We're going to be in therapy, and it's going to be fun with our professional of the year. Barbara Robertson joins us on the program. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I'm looking forward to inviting anybody who's out there to join in. I'm gonna describe some different ways of putting lines on paper and just invite you, if you're open to it, to give that a try, kind of follow what I'm saying, and then just notice if anything's happening for you
And this is
before.
called what?
Well, it's basically just making marks. It's putting marks on paper. And there are a lot of different ways to do it. I could, for example, suggest that you put down marks that show what you feel like when you have sadness going on or when you're anxious. But we're just going to go straight to the line quality. Is the line going to be straight, crooked, curved, wavy? We're not going to
Hmm.
even assign any meaning to it this time. This is just to see what happens when you put marks down. And actually, you don't even have to put them down. If you want to do this by moving your finger through the air as if you were drawing on a chalkboard that's invisible, you're welcome
Hmm.
to do that too, because your hand is going to be moving in the same direction, whether it's holding a pen or not.
Lots of things come to mind here. The first one, in that, and I read this years ago, and I believe it wholeheartedly, that the connection between the mind and the hand and a writing instrument is very powerful, more than because we're so used to it, or should be. Now it's a lot of keyboard, but it's it makes a very deep connection to your mind when you write something down, which it's often been said before, don't type it, like in a journal.
Right.
Write it down, because when you do, it's a part of you and it's real. You've cemented it in your mind because you wrote it, or you've made that like direct connection, and it's not the same as when you type it. So now, as we talk about this and how art therapy works, I see how powerful this can be.
It is potentially quite powerful, and I kind of worry about kids today who aren't learning. My 17-year-old grandson does not know how to write in cursive because it was considered, and probably is, pretty
Yeah.
much, not necessary even for signing, because signatures are now electronic in whatever type font you decide you like to put your name down in. But
Hmm.
I think we do lose a link. I mean, sometimes we can even do a right hand, left hand question answer kind of thing, kind of thought process for ourselves, where I might write a question with my right hand. Do I really want to do a podcast on making marks and what
Hmm.
that's like? And then let my left hand write the answer, and I might get completely different information.
I never thought of
I
that.
let my left hand, because actually our hands are connected to the opposite side of our brain. So my right hand is connected to my left brain, which is the language and logic centered hemisphere. And the left hand is connected to the right brain, which is all about space, time, time as a fluid thing, not as a thing that happens in measurable increments, flow, um, emotions, artistic kinds of stuff, music, all that is right brain stuff. So that could show up more strongly through the left hand's writing.
Wow. What left and right brain? Can you go a little bit deeper in terms of what they represent?
Well, there were some studies back in the 80s, which is quite a while ago now. to think of it. But discovering that the two hemispheres of the brain can hold very different functions. And they did studies on people who had the connective tissue that links the two hemispheres together somehow damaged or separated. So their left hemisphere functioned quite separately from the right hemisphere. Generally, that's not a life-changing problem. But what they discovered was it did isolate the functions of both halves. And so they discovered that the left hemisphere seems to process information in quantifiable amounts. So it's all about
Hmm.
language, it's about mathematics, just in terms of numeric, figuring, um, understanding time in terms of minutes and hours and months and days, anything that could be broken apart into measurable units. The left brain is good with that. The right brain is much better with qualitative aspects of things. So spacious, kind of space understanding, spatial relationships, interrelationships, even between people,
Hmm.
like our intuition is probably kind of homed in the right hemisphere. The things that help us know which music we really rock to, or which kind of artwork we really like to look at, or what color we really want that living room wall to be. What really resonates with us is probably right hemisphere stuff.
Wow. I always wondered like the difference between the two, and isn't one side more feminine than the other side?
I would, it's hard to say for sure, but I think culturally we've identified quantifiable ways of looking at things as more masculine and quality kind of ways of looking at things as more feminine. I would like to see those stereotypes broken,
Okay.
personally.
I heard maybe in the last month that the left brain, again, I can't remember, but one is the feminine side of the brain, one is the masculine side of the brain. We all have them. We have it doesn't matter what gender you identify with. There's a feminine side and a masculine side. That's the way we're designed. So I thought that they're the hemispheres of the brain were different that way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one way that sort of clarifies the differences, sure. Yeah,
Hmm.
and that we can both have both is a good thing also. And then if this tissue in our brain that connects the two halves is functional, what happens is that we get the best of all those qualities to factor into any kind of problem solving or creative effort that we want to undertake.
Interesting. Wow. So again, this markings, what is it called we're doing today?
We're just making marks. Okay, so to start with, I want to invite you and anyone else who's open to engaging in it. And you can do this in a way that keeps you inside your comfort zone or
Hmm.
maybe moves you closer to the edge of it. No judgment. Wherever it feels right for you, what I'd like to invite you to do is just to start by making lots of straight lines on the paper.
I have to ask this question because the last time we did something together, I wasn't looking at the paper, and that was intentional.
Right. No, you're very much allowed to look at the paper. Whatever helps you make straight lines the way you want to make them. Go for it. And we're just going to do that for about, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds. Okay, and so just make another mark or two until you're pleased with your grouping of straight lines on the paper in any way.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I have Some.
Oh,
Where do I go
okay.
now? Or,
There's no requirement for how many or where they are, but what I want to invite you to notice is what was happening for you as you were making the marks. Were there questions that were coming up for you? Was there,
yes,
okay,
yes. When I first started, and I'll show you the example in a moment.
okay,
When I
cool.
first started, I was bored. Like I was like, all right, how am I going to do this? And I'm just drawing straight lines. And I don't know if you can see this, but it started like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Uh-huh. Okay.
And then it progressed to this, and I believe this is called cross hatching, where it's
Cross-hatching.
shading, but it's you didn't say how to do the straight line, so I was like, hey, let me change this up a little bit. And
Yeah.
then I went into this where I enjoy not they are straight lines, but they have a little texture to them, but they're still straight. So initially this is where it started, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
well, she said straight lines, so that's straight lines, but I was bored, like doing it.
Okay.
I felt
Okay.
I got to do something else. I can't do that. I can't draw straight lines.
So how did your inner sense change from beginning to make the boring straight lines to the end when you kind of, made shorter strokes, but kind of linked them up in a way?
I When I do the straight lines, it goes back to my childhood when I used to draw cartoons that it had to be perfect. It had to be
Ah,
perfect. And then
uh-huh.
when I was looking at these straight lines, and they're, fairly evenly spaced apart, that's not me. It used to be me, but it's not me. And even if I was to draw a just a box, I
Mhm.
if I'm allowed to within the confines of whatever I was doing, I would make it give him a little bit of texture to go around because otherwise I'm bored. And then with the cross hatching, that took me back to when I used to draw cartoons where I wanted to add some texture and also a pen and ink. I used to do pen and ink drawing, so that would be definitely a technique that I would have done to add some shading to something. But
Right.
I'm a rule follower, so you said straight lines, so they are straight lines. They're just straight lines on top of each other to create a shading.
Right, exactly. And I sort of deliberately didn't make any other rules besides make
No.
the line straight so that anyone who chose to participate in it could kind of explore a little bit and find out, do you have any internal rules that say straight lines can't touch each other? Straight lines have to be evenly placed?
Mm.
Or did you allow your straight lines to kind of make a little chaotic pile as if you just dumped out a can of pickup sticks, if anyone
Right.
knows what those are anymore,
Uh,
or a box of toothpicks, for
right.
example?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be kind of fun to see, well, what did I believe? What else besides the lines being straight did I believe I had to do? And then bring some curiosity to where did that come from?
Where does it come from, though, in a therapeutic, putting the therapeutic spotlight on that exercise?
Mhm.
What's going on there?
Well, it might come from a particular way that an individual has decided that they prefer their life to be ordered or predictable. Often that can happen when someone has had something with a huge emotional impact happen that gives them a sense of really preferring to have a little control over what happens, because when big emotional impact things happen, they often kind of you just blow us away for a while, and that's not a pleasant feeling. It can be hard to cope with an abrupt, shocking surprise like that. So we might find little ways, like making our lines very straight and even, to give us a sense of security that the world is not going to blow apart in the next minute.
Hmm.
Have
And
order
I can see
in my
that.
life.
I can
Yeah.
totally see that. Um,
And if you have, on the other hand, someone who's very controlling and you have a little bit of a rebel spirit in you, you might do the pile of lines like the box of spilled toothpicks, just because it's kind of fun to create chaos in, especially in artwork where it's not going to have an impact beyond that sheet of paper or whatever it is, the surface that you're working on, which is another cool thing about doing art in therapy because it's a very low risk kind of an activity to put some very meaningful stuff into.
I'm intrigued how it just started with the directive to do straight lines and how I changed it up, which not a big deal, but how I connected to it, whereby I used to be a perfectionist. I've let a lot of that go, a lot of it go.
Yeah,
And I started on the perfectionism route where straight line, straight line, straight line, straight
yep,
line, equally
yep.
spaced apart. And I'm bored with it. Like I was like, no. I mean, if I'm
So there's some part of you that noticed what was going on inside because
exactly.
boredom is something that happens inside. It's not coming at you from anywhere else. And you go to yourself somehow. Feeling bored is not a pleasant feeling. What can I do to feel more engaged, more connected? I want to feel more connected to this activity.
And a
Something,
feeling of
right?
accomplishment because
Uh-huh.
when I did the cross
Yes.
hatching, I accomplished shading. I accomplished
Yes.
texture. I
Yes.
stayed in the rules, straight lines, and
Mhm.
it just made it, yeah, I got something here, as opposed to benign line, line,
Absolutely.
line.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So you were paying attention, tuned in, attuned is the word we use in therapy, to your own inner energy. So you want to do some more marks?
Let's do it.
Okay, so this time I want to invite you, once you put your pen or pencil tip on the paper or your fingertip, if that's what you're doing, not to break with touching the paper. So continuously on the surface. And this time, what I'd like you to do is to make a lot of zigzag lines. So straight lines and then an angle. So the line goes in a different direction. So you like think about making a 5 point star, how you do that star shape with straight line up and then down and then over and then back. Only you could let your lines go wild all over the space you have if you want to. Straight lines, continuous line, and angle wherever they change direction.
Hmm.
And try to keep your pencil moving steadily. Try to keep the mark just happening at a, reasonably consistent pace. Don't have to put a lot of decision into the turn. In fact, you can decide not to turn till you get the edge of the paper and then be like a billiards ball where you just bounce off that edge and go off in another direction until you bounce off the other edge that it goes up until, and then bounce back to a different edge.
Hmm.
Or you can make it zigzag several times between edges. Whatever you want that line to do, you can make it do.
Interesting. Because it's like your brain starts out in a certain direction, but then something overtakes it. I don't know if that makes sense.
Say more. Yeah, say more.
Like I would start drawing, but then I keep gravitating back to something, and I'll show you what the something is. Again, I kind of got bored with just the lines, which, I started at some point here,
Ah, okay.
but
Oh, yeah.
then you
Uh-huh.
said angles, and I had them follow each other because I just thought it was kind of cool, to
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
just like they're in sync with each other, I guess that would be,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. So
And
what rule did you not follow?
a basic line on top of a line. Like when you said the star, 5 point star or whatever, I was like, oh, I could do that. I don't want to do that. Like to me, that just wasn't, I needed more. I need to beef it up a little bit more.
Well, what I was noticing was that you must have picked that pen up off the page at least twice because you had three separate
I did
configurations.
because I started at one, like, well, let me see if I can change it up a little bit. But even when I changed it up, I started doing the same thing I did initially anyway.
So I want to invite you just to take about another 15 seconds, pick up one of those lines from where it left off, and allow your pen to just go haywire, making angles again, and connect all three of those line ends together. Overlap, make as many layers of lines as you want, but keep that pen continuously in touch with the surface of the paper until you've linked them all with zigzag lines.
Hmm. It's again, it goes back to, they follow each other, and I don't know why I feel like I like doing that.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense. Where, you
Yeah.
have this one,
Yep. Yep.
we start with a shape and then
Right.
it could be just one of the tiniest shapes, but it builds upon into something bigger. But it all follows the shape. The all follows the shape of the original shape.
So as you take a look at that now with them all joined together, do you have a different impression of what's happening than you did before when there were three different areas?
My first thought is it can all work together. It can all work together.
It looks more coherent. That's
Yeah,
how I would put it as a therapist, is they actually are connected in the way that they appear
yeah.
and kind of the same guiding principle that you used in each area, but connecting them together really made it into one coherent whole.
And for some reason, and you can see I started here with the star kind of vibe
Right.
where lines
Yep.
go on top of lines.
Yep.
I don't know what it is, but I don't want to do that. I don't feel comfortable doing that. And I got nothing for you. I don't know
I,
why.
yeah, I was going to notice that also, that you have an internal rule for this particular exercise of let's not have the lines overlap each other.
It just doesn't feel right. And
Okay.
I
And
cannot explain why,
that is all you need to know.
but I want to know.
Well,
Like, why am I thinking that? Like, why? There's nothing wrong with it, but it's just like, it doesn't excite me.
well, if we still have time, let's wrap it up with one more. And this time I'm going to
We got
challenge
about a minute or so.
about a minute. Okay, so let's spend 10 or 15 seconds. You might want to flip the paper over
Yeah, yeah.
and then create a boundary, whether it's a rectangle or a circle or just a free-form shape. Create a shape on the page in which you're going to keep the lines that you're going to make.
Okay, got it.
Okay, now I want to invite you to make lines that overlap each other willy-nilly, and you can do it with straight angular lines or looping lines, as if you're just filling that shape with scribbles, and just see what happens. And you may want to move more rapidly. You may want to try moving rapidly and
Uh,
really slowly to see how that feels different.
hmm.
Or moving with straight lines and then moving with curvy lines to see how that feels different.
I'm pretty much doing the same exact thing. I made first thing I thought it was a triangle, and
Okay.
they were kind of conforming to each other, but then got very loose when you said go fast down in here.
Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
it's almost as if my brain is saying, I can't just do lines. I have to accomplish something. It has to look like some type of design. And I'm not
And
trying
you,
to, it's not like I'm trying to, uh, you know, show off a piece of art. It has to have a synergy. Maybe that's the word. I can't just like,
maybe that's the word. But I also noticed that you have a resistant part who just really does not like those lines to overlap.
and I got nothing for you on that one.
You do not want them to cross over each
Uh,
other. You want each line to have its own space,
Except the cross hatching previously, where there was some
except the cross
shading,
hatching,
but there was a
right?
reason for that. There was a reason for that to provide some
Uh-huh.
shading and just something different. This is like this is the stuff that makes you think. Like, wow.
Right, right,
Hmm,
right.
interesting. We are out of time.
Yep.
I would love to keep going.
We'll do more next time.
Yeah, and this is how we can purge energy. We can express ourselves, learn certain things. You're you're available. People have questions, comments, want to go a little bit deeper in this, and that's your name, Robertson Therapy. Wait, I don't
Right.
have that right.
Yep, yep. Robertson Art Therapy, and you have to put the LLC at the end of that, .com. Robertson Art Therapy, LLC.com. That's my website. There is a contact form that you can use on that website to reach me, or you can send me an email right to Robertson, Robertson .atr@gmail.com. If you have a question about something you heard today or in an earlier podcast and you want me to clarify, what was I talking about when we were doing that? Anything like that. I'm open to conversation. Anything about, how doing art, making marks is helpful for you or not helpful for you. I'm just love to have conversations with people about their own efforts to create something that means something true for them.
It does make you think very deeply. Like I'm still processing why I don't want to do, the lines on top of each other. Really cool. Thank you for today. That was fun.
No, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I always have fun with you on these efforts that we're doing to kind of explore art and what happens when we let ourselves engage in it.
Yeah.
So till next time, thanks.
Thank you. No talent needed, by the way, because everybody's an
That's
artist.
true. That's true. No previous experience. This is one of the few things you can just start out with never having done before.
We'll catch up next time. We'll be right back.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.